If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. This African proverb inspires Foundation's community partnership to foster collaboration among networks for special needs children, youth, and families in Bucks County. Welcome to FCP Conversations Online, featuring Bucks County nonprofit leaders. Join our discussion with community organizations that share our mission and are making a difference in the lives of our neighbors.
Hello, I'm Ron Bernstein, the Executive Director of Foundation's Community Partnership. I'm delighted to kick off FCP Conversations Online with our guest today, Janet Mintzer, President and CEO of the Pearl S. Buck International. Janet, welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about Pearl S. Buck and the organization.
Pearl S. Buck was the daughter of Presbyterian missionaries. She actually was born in West Virginia, but lived the first 40 years of her life in China. She became a Nobel Pulitzer-winning author. Her first book that was published, groundbreaking bestseller, was The Good Earth. And she wrote that from an attic in Nanjing, around 40 years old. She sent the book to New York. It was published, and her publisher called her and said, "This book is a phenomenal, a sensation. You must come to the United States. Everyone is wondering about who is this Western woman that knows the Chinese culture and people so well." So she did. She came to the United States to publicize the book, ended up staying here, moving to Bucks County. Her stone farmhouse is right in Hilltown, Pennsylvania, now a National Historic Landmark. During her lifetime, she took up many causes, all of which focused on discrimination in one way or another. Being blonde hair, blue eyes, growing up in China, she faced discrimination there. And so when she came to the United States and saw that racism was socially acceptable, she spoke out about it at every opportunity. In 1949, she found out if you were biracial, you were considered unadoptable. She started Welcome House, the first adoption agency in the country that focused on the adoption of biracial children. After the Korean War, Welcome House expanded its charter to include the adoption of international children because some of the children that were born of American servicemen with Korean women were just abandoned. In 1964, she realized she could not bring every child here for adoption, and she started the Pearl S. Buck Foundation. She gave it her own name, and she said the sole purpose of the foundation will be to serve children who face discrimination because of the circumstances of their birth. She started that program using a very simple child sponsorship model. Back then, it was $15 a month. You could sponsor a child in Korea. She would get a donor here, match them up. They could write letters, share stories, encourage the children to be successful, stay in school. We still do that program to this day. We still work in 6 countries in Asia, helping children. We also now manage Pearl Buck's National Historic Landmark home, which she left to the foundation when she passed away in 1973.
Truly an amazing woman. How would you say her work influences what you guys do today?
Well, number one, she was very focused on children. We continue to serve children. She was also very focused on issues of race and discrimination, and our new strategic plan is really embracing the need in our country to have an intercultural appreciation. We're really hoping that we can be an international bridge between the East and West, like Pearl Buck was during her lifetime. So many of the programs that we do in Asia, we bring here to the local community, so that high school students, for example, have the opportunity to learn about other countries, other cultures, the needs of children abroad, and then can become young humanitarians, just like Pearl Buck, by carrying out a service project to really make a difference in the lives of those children.
Well, I know, here at Foundations, we feel so fortunate to have the opportunity to work with Pearl S. Buck International. But I also know that you guys have developed a new strategic plan and you're going in some new directions. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, the new direction for us is to really become more of a cultural bridge between internationally to our local community and to be more relevant to students and schools in our community than we were in the past. We also have a much broader vision of the Pearlbuck House and how we can interpret it to tell stories about racism, China-American relations, immigration, all the things that Pearlbuck wrote about and talked about during her lifetime, all the topics that are really issues in our country today. And I think, Pearlbuck International is positioned and we're poised really well to bring Pearlbuck's words, the past, to the present, to really facilitate dialogue and provide education programs so that we become more relevant today, just like Pearlbuck was during her lifetime.
I know every summer I see articles and ads about International Day at Pearl S. Buck. What is International Day and where do the kids come from?
International Day is really a lot different than it was years ago. It used to be a big community fair and we had all kinds of cultural entertainment and activities. Now International Day is really a time for our adoptive families to unite, come together, share with each other their experiences of raising children that are international, in an international family. And it's really just a time for the children to run around, play, and we do some international activities and things, but it's really just focused on the children today.
I know in the last couple of years you've done an extensive restoration of the original house. Can you tell us about that and how people can come and see it?
The Pearlbuck House, it was a really unique, beautiful, large stone farmhouse, which when Pearlbuck passed away in 1973, was really not well cared for until we came into the year 2000 and probably 8, because the mission always focused on the children. So the house was there and it really kind of fell in disarray. So we actually did a $2.8 million capital campaign, totally restored the house, took care of all of the water infiltration issues, the rotted wood, the plaster particles, and it really looks like a beautiful, beautiful home, the way it did when Pearlbuck lived there. And we're really trying to use that to engage the public in the important issues of Pearlbuck's lifetime so that they get involved and become part of this amazing legacy of an amazing woman.
I know that you and a couple of your board members are getting ready to travel to Vietnam and Cambodia. Can you tell us what that's about and what you're hoping to accomplish?
Sure. This is the second trip. Last year we had a trip to the Philippines. This year we're having a trip to Vietnam and Cambodia. And we opened it to the public. We largely have board members, some child sponsors, an advisory council member going to Vietnam. We're really trying to open what are we doing overseas and bring it to life for people who are supporters of our program or who just have a curiosity about international travel. So when we go to Vietnam, we'll be going to Hanoi and visiting 3 orphanages where we work. Sponsors will have the opportunity to meet with their children. We'll also be doing some sightseeing, and along the way, we'll go to Cambodia and meet with Caring for Cambodia, another NGO that works and helps children in Cambodia, so we can talk about ways we can work together. I think this is providing a great opportunity for us to communicate what we do overseas at a local level, and again, trying to be that bridge between East and West.
Well, Pearl S. Buck certainly had a major influence. I wonder, though, how do people in China think of her? What is the vision of Pearl S. Buck in China?
Pearlbuck is becoming rather well known in China now. It was funny. She wanted to go back to China during her lifetime. Once she came here to live, the country fell to communism. When Richard Nixon was going to China in 1972, she was on his list to accompany him, fluent in Mandarin, an ace in his pocket. The Chinese government denied her visa and said, because you vilified the Chinese people, you're not permitted to come to China, which was so ironic because every book she ever wrote was a way for Americans or Westerns to understand the Chinese culture and people. So it was really just a misunderstanding. But in 2002, we had a delegation come from China to Pearl S. Buck International, and they gave us a formal invitation to come to see her historic home, which was converted and open to the public as a tourist site. We were quite surprised and amazed. Oh no, China's opening up to Pearl Buck. Since that, I've been to China probably 5 times for openings of museums or her historic homes, which are now cultural heritages in China. So she's becoming much more mainstream, much more socially acceptable, and there's much more interest in her because Chinese people see Pearl Buck as a human bridge between East and West.
That's really nice to hear. Well, there's so many interesting programs, but what's one that really speaks to your heart, Janet?
I am really in love with the new program we're doing for middle school students. It is a program where we are teaching middle school students about life in the Philippines culture, and the lives of children in the Philippines. We're actually matching each child in the Philippines to a child in our program, our middle school program, and they're writing letters back and forth and learning about each other. And our kids here will do a service project at the end to help the children there. To me, this is what it's all about because we're educating young people, preparing them to become global citizens, to have an intercultural competency where they can be successful in the world we live in today. And they're making the difference to a child in the Philippines who would have very little opportunity without their support.
Janet, tell me a little bit more about your child sponsorship program. How does that work?
Our child sponsorship program works by matching a donor here in the United States to a child in need in one of the Asian countries where we work. The children in the countries where we work basically have very, very little chance of staying in school unless they have our support. What often happens in the Philippines, for example, children get around 9, 10, 11 years old. They have to stop school and work to support the family. Their parents can't afford tuition or the uniforms or the book supplies. So our program ensures these children stay in school. And we do that by focusing on education, paying their tuition, providing book supplies, and nutrition. We make sure that children have a nutritious diet so they're healthy and they can go to school with a clear mind and do well in school. And then the third thing that we really focus on is immunizations and basic health care. So that if the child has a need, gets sick, we're there for them to make sure that they get through that illness, they get the antibiotics they need so they can stay in school. It's the key component. It's what Pearl Buck believed every child needed was an education to be successful, and that is what our child sponsorship program is about.
Well, I imagine if somebody wants to contribute and donate to that it's tax deductible for them.
Yes, it is. And the nice thing, we have a nice portion on our website where you can actually go and you can look at the children that we have available for sponsorship by country. So if you'd like to sponsor a little girl in Vietnam, for example, you can go there and look at some children in Vietnam that live in orphanages that would not have a good diet or the good things that our organization provides to help them be successful. You can look at children we have in Thailand that are impacted by HIV/AIDS. You can actually pick the child you want, the age group you want, and then you get matched and you get the whole family story once you're matched and write letters. And I can tell you it's a pretty meaningful experience for me. I've sponsored children from the time they were in elementary school through high school, supported them through vocational school, got to go back overseas and see their babies after they're married. There can be nothing better to me than sponsoring a child because you're not only making a difference in the life of that child, but generations to come.
Oh, that sounds great. Well, how can our listeners help? How can people get involved in the Pearl S. Buck International?
Go to our website, pearlsbuck.org. Look at some of the events we have coming up. Come out and participate. Come to a Pearl Buck house tour. We're open daily to the public. We give guided tours. Consider volunteering. We have a monthly volunteer orientation. Really think about what skill you have and what you'd like to bring to the organization. I have some amazing stories. A librarian came to volunteer. We now do book discussions as part of our tour. So, it's a clean slate at Pearl Buck. I think our mission is the most important, and we're driven by the volunteers, the board members, the skill sets that come to us because we do have a relatively small staff, but we are really eager to have people engage with our legacy. Go to our website. Also, look, we have a donate now button. What's going on? How can you make a difference? Make a donation to general operations. Sponsor a project in Vietnam. We're putting together a bathroom in an orphanage right now and trying to raise the last dollars to do that project. There are so many ways you can engage and get involved. If international issues and children are your passion, history, if you liked Pearl Buck's books, come out, learn more, get involved. Pearl Buck left us an amazing legacy, but no endowment, no funding, so we're totally dependent on the community to care about what we're doing, and I invite you all to care.
Well, the grounds are beautiful. I know that you guys even hold weddings there. And as an organization, we held a retreat there 2 years ago. So there's great facilities for organizations looking for a location to hold a retreat, but it's also a beautiful place to get married. So thank you, Janet. Thank you for your service to our Bucks County community, for joining with me today to share your experiences and knowledge leading the Pearl S. Buck International. Thank you to our listeners for your involvement in our community. Visit our Facebook page to join the conversation with your thoughts and comments.
Thank you, Ron.
Foundation's Community Partnership believes that when we join forces, we're stronger. We are better able to support the behavioral health and human service needs of children and young adults in Bucks County. Join us again for FCP Conversations Online. Let's go farther together.